Welcome back to Sixes and Sevens round 12 review. There's a long time in rugby league. We talk about 24 hours in rugby league is a long time. A week in rugby league is a very, very long time, and so much can happen. And the biggest news out of the weekend is definitely the Lachie Galvin news. He's agreed, or he's spoken about to his management, that he wants to take a 3.5-year deal offer up at the Dogs. Massive news, but also probably some timely news for both clubs. We'll dive into what it will mean for both clubs, but what are your thoughts on it, Mitch, and how you been, buddy?
Good, brother. Good to see you again this morning. Mate, huge news. I'll tell you what, my head's spinning over these results every weekend before I go into Galvin.
How hard is it?
On our tips every week here, and that tipping comp that I do on the other one, I pulled the post down today because I was like, I don't think I got one right. And I looked at it. I had everything.
Did your Cheddar win?
Cheddar was I had Penrith.
Yeah, well, my Cheddar was the Raiders. So
you had Raiders, yeah.
I got 3 points because they weren't favourites either. So I'm sorry, but
that's not a bad little.
Can you count, Mitch, or do you want Gabe to do it to see what the score is now with your hat sitting backwards up there?
Hey, I just thought I'd mix up the style for the thing. It's all about, I wanted to come across professional on this screen. But, yeah, congratulations on your Cheddar, mate. I'm happy for you. Honestly, the Penrith one for me, full credit to the Knights. Obviously bouncing back. We'll get on them a bit later. But, mate, Penrith, what's doing? I thought they were easy wins. Knights coming off very poor form. And then Penrith just, wow. But, yeah, my tips are giving me adding to the bipolar that's already here. Honestly, my tipping each week is embarrassing, but it's so unpredictable. It's great for the game. We'll get into all that. But your first question, Galvin, huge news.
Before we go into Galvin, okay, is it unpredictable or is it the way the competition is? Is it because obviously, like anything, there's a favourite and there's an underdog going in there. Anything you do, there's a favourite and underdog. When we look at the favourite and underdog tag in rugby league at the moment, is it right? Because obviously there's opinions, but it goes down to I don't know. It's hard because it's happening more and more and more. Is it just the way the game is and how tight the competition is? So anyone can win on any day. Yeah. Because before we even dive into it, someone asked, I don't know if we've spoken about him, but someone asked me, what about the luncheon on Friday I was at? They said, who can win the competition? And I said, if we're picking the team to win the competition today, I believe the Sharks can win. 48 hours later, they go out and get beat by the Roosters.
Well, they were the other one. Yeah, they were the other one I tipped against.
It's crazy, it's good for the game because, one, it draws more eyes to the game because around Origin time, some people go, I just won't watch club games because everyone's depleted. They don't have all their superstars in. So they just sort of flicking between the games. And when they're flicking between the games and the scores are different, it glues your eyes to them.
What does it come down to? I know you just asked me. I'll give a quick answer. I think it's obviously I can't really answer it. I can't answer it because probably a few weeks ago you speak about momentum swings, obviously. The 6 again, if you're behind and your completions aren't great and you can't turn up with the wrong attitude, you get beat. But a lot of these games, some of these teams aren't playing poor. The opposition's just playing really good. And this isn't something that we've seen in the last couple of years. In the last couple of years, we've probably seen a good side fumble the ball, completion rate at 60%, shit attitude, and then the next week they bounce back. But that was the reason for the loss, where some of these games, the teams are still playing really good. With quality players on the field, and they're just not good enough because the opposition just finds an extra leg. Obviously, the momentum swings has brought more consistency. We spoke about that a fair bit. From my opinion, obviously the 6 agains and the open style encourages or levels the playing field out a little bit more across the park. It's not as built on just halves specifically. It's more built on athletic bodies now. Your outside backs can win your games just as much as your halves can to an extent. or a big middle can be the man of the match as opposed to a 5'8" out there. So that's for me's changed. You know, you wind the clock back 10 years ago, it was, you know, if you had a good win, it was your halves that usually orchestrated it, where now it can be, you know, so many different positions with athleticism and size and individual brilliance. But what's your thoughts on that, Toddy?
Yeah, I believe it's just on the back of that momentum thing. It's about who contains the momentum and who can controls it. Like I commentated the Manly Parra game the other night, and it was clear at the first part of the game that Manly were all over top of them, but didn't capitalise. They didn't take the 2 points out. It was 12-10 all, and they didn't take the two, so they turned it over play 2, I think it was, and then Parra that means it relieved all the pressure off Parra, and then Parra gained a little bit of momentum to finish the half 16-10 because they got that momentum and went up the other end of the field and capitalised on it. But throughout the game, there was moments where teams had momentum, but if you don't score or put on points by 2 points or actually cause havoc in when you've got that momentum, the other team gets it, steals it back off you, and then they can capitalise on it straight away because they actually know how to capitalise when they've got momentum. And I think the best team that's doing that at the moment, when they've got momentum, there's 2 teams from over the weekend we'll talk about, was the Roosters, when they had momentum, and Dolphins. When Dolphins have got momentum, they're a dangerous team to stop. When they get down into the red zone, the green zone we call it, attacking their line, they're so dangerous because they've got so many different attacking options. They're so well drilled when they're down there. So it's definitely on the back of the momentum, but also it's who turns up. I think the competition's too tight that if you have a poor day, and we talk about teams without origin superstars and players like that, but then also during the year we give teams credit or give teams lenience because their superstar players are out. But on the weekend, the Dogs had players out, but so did the Dolphins. Dolphins come out and pull their pants down.
There's no outs. The way the game is now, and we've obviously been at it for a few years, but how meticulous everything is in your preparation, you can hardly be off. Like from a player's point of view, you can hardly be off. You've got no outs or any alibis nowadays to make an excuse because everything's so managed. That, like you just said, it's like a well-tuned up horse going into a big race week after week after week. Like the measurements, the piss tests, you know, your training, you know, if you're not feeling good, you get rested. So you're just in peak condition week after week. And then mentally all the preparation and so all that stuff. And just when you watch it, that's how they play though. They're just so well tuned now and everyone's so prepared that it becomes basically just about, like you just said, momentum swings and who can get a jump on the opposition. I still think that field position and high completions wins the game, and obviously a good kicking game. I still think without that you're going to struggle. But it's just so professional, isn't it now? Honestly.
And I guess the news that everyone wants us to speak about, the news that's on the back of everyone's lips. I know it was on Gus Gould's lips a long time ago when he come out and said that Lachie Galvin's a great player, but he wasn't in their radar. And I will say one thing. They call Gus Gould the Godfather for a reason. What Gus Gould wants, Gus Gould gets. And he gets his man this week. Lachie Galvin, the news. I think it's a great signing for the Bulldogs. Does it ruffle a few feathers at the Bulldogs? Where does he fit into this team?
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Firstly, I think it's a great move, as you just said. He's like the Donald Trump of rugby league, isn't he? Gus Gould. He's just a genius. We only joked about it.
Players and coaches, he's the Cadillac.
He's the Cadillac. He's the
that old Ford,
horse,
wasn't it? Yes.
Oh yeah, he was Grease Lightning. He was the vintage Grease Lightning. Just never gets old, never dates. But he's just a genius, isn't he? But the thing is, from Galvin's point of view, and I put myself in those shoes to be, how old's Galvin? 19 or 20?
Yeah.
But to be 19 or 20 and you've got a few coaches coming at you, you know, with a bit of charisma, getting you over the line, well, it's hard to beat Gus Gould. You know, you can only imagine what he was saying to Galvin. I've heard him come out and say, I think he came out once and said he's the most talented young kid he's ever seen play the game. So he's obviously just going to fill him full of belief. And the proof's in the pudding. Gus will get the delivery. They've got the best young coach in the comp in Serrato, best defensive system, and the best upside out of any team. So I think it's a great move from Galvin. I'm seeing a lot of backlash from Galvin, though, in the media, reading a few things. People sort of pizzling his character and stuff like that now. You know, it's probably not an argument we want to open up Pandora's box about again, but it was only 2 weeks ago he was getting turned on from his leadership group and made out to be the bad guy. So into his defence, and this is from only an outsider looking in, it's you can't blame the kid for wanting to walk away, and there probably wouldn't be much love there for him at the moment. So but yeah, look, it's an opportunity for him. As I said, I don't think he was getting too much support or too many people holding on to him at the Tigers, rightly so, from both parties. But I think it's a great move for him. Go and enjoy yourself at the Dogs. He's going to make them a better side. How it looks, though, does Sexton move to the bench? Does Sexton play reserve grade? Burton's not going to get moved. Let's put it that way. Burton's left foot kick and his status in the game, he's your 6. What does that open up? The only option is Galvin at 7.
They've got to have a plan because it will be reaction. It will be rack this week, so they have to move a plan. Obviously, the loss on the weekend helps a decision if they were to move someone to the bench or move someone to reserve grade. But there's also a domino effect from that too, because if, say for instance, and I know Serrato likes to play for a smaller bench and blokes who can move around the park, but you say if Lachie Galvin was to wear the number 7 next week and Burton was in the 6. Toby Sexton then would push back to the bench. So that could mean push back Bailey Hayward.
Well, I saw something today, Toddy, just before I cut you off. They said Mahoney's under pressure because of his ill discipline. And they're talking about grooming Hayward to start. We brought it up a couple of weeks ago, I think it was on the potty. But I saw it again pop up today, unless it's sort of fake news. But that's another sort of thing that's been getting pushed out there.
There's going to be so much news come from this. Obviously, there's news that the West Tigers will pursue to try and get Adam Reynolds. From when we sat down with Adam Reynolds, I don't believe he would leave Brisbane. He spoke about it that he's got opportunities here at the club at Brisbane as a coach. If he was to leave an NRL club, that might not come to fruition. Obviously, there's Super League offers, but there's so much to dissect from it because one, the decision. I think everyone will be glad that it's been put to bed. Also, we spoke about obviously Lachie Galvin. He got offered 5 years. $6 million or something it was to stay at the Tigers. So to the people that they're having a crack at him about how he is as a person, selfish, things like that, that's a load of crap because he's also gave up $1.3 million over the next 5 years to sign to the Bulldogs. So it shows that he's not all about money. We've seen other players in positions say they'll leave him because it sets up their family. Obviously, Lockie's a young kid and he'll continue to make more money as his career goes on. And that's something that Gus did say about Lachie, that he'll potentially earn a lot more money than any young player in the history of the game. So I'm sure Gus would have mentioned that to him in their conversation. But
it could have been that room, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Obviously,
the interview room, Gus
a star player Galvin goes to a new club. Does it upset some people at the Bulldogs?
Well, I think Sexton for sure. Hayward potentially. Going to the Perth team a bit later, and obviously the new sides that are coming into the competition. That Hayward, we spoke about him being a great opportunity. He'd be a great signing or someone you could build a club around. Does his manager get straight on the phone and start saying, "Listen, mate, let's get you out of there because you're not going to get a start"? Does Sexton's manager call Sexton and say, "Mate, listen, or call Gus and say, what's the go?" Like, clearly Galvin is going to be in the halves. Whether it's this instant moment, potentially not this year, but over the next couple of years, he's the half. They're not signing him for anything but there's obviously a good coin he's signed for. He's the half. I've seen a few people suggest, and I can see it happening. If he keeps becoming a big body like a John Sutton type player, that Braithen Astor to an extent, where he played a fair bit in the back row and lock, I think Galvin could potentially play that type of role. But at the end of the day, he's a half. He's come on the scene as a half. He's getting all the raps as a half. So, yeah, for me, he's going there as the half. And you're right. The domino effect to that is Sexton, Haywood. Burton's not going anywhere for me. But it's going to be interesting how they do it, because at the end of the day, they're still on top of the ladder. Get onto them a little bit later. I think you've got a few opinions on the Dogs and where they're looking like over the next few weeks, in your opinion. But at the end of the day, the Dogs are doing great. Sexton's got them to the top of the ladder. So it is interesting.
Boys, with as ex-players yourself, you see situations like this happen. Does it sometimes feel like a player can't win? As you said, Toddy, you hear all people whinging like, oh, they're leaving for more money, no loyalty. And then a young gun moves for less money, and then the story's something else. Do you know what I mean?
Oh, there's always a double-ended sword to what happens when you leave, you come, you go. And that's life, because everyone's entitled to an opinion. Everyone's got a phone. Everyone can sit in social media and bag someone. So that's a part. That's a part of the game. It's a part of reality. Everyone will always make an excuse. We spoke about it, that if Max King didn't get picked for New South Wales, and they picked Terrell May, everyone would have been going, well, why didn't Max King get picked there on top of the ladder? It would have flipped the script of who they were talking about. So there's always people going to have an opinion on what goes on, and he's a target. It's been spoken about for a long time. I'm glad it's been put to bed and they can move on from it. So when we say move on from it, Mitch, where does the Tigers go? Obviously, we spoke about that they're trying to capture Reynolds. They've got the young kid Farnow will return this week, I'm pretty sure. There was also reports out that Jerome Luai was more comfortable playing with Farnow, so it would be, did they stick with him and develop him, or do they have to go out and find a 7? Because I thought Jerome Luai is doing a great job wearing the number 7 jumper for the club, how he's been. Is it a quick fix or is it not a quick fix for Reynolds? Do they need him, or do you believe they just stick with what they've got and fill the roster other places?
Well, I think Reno would be great. Like, if they were to lure a guy like Adam Reynolds over, I think it would be awesome for the club. But for my opinion, just poor old Tigers are back to square one again. Like, we talk about Farnow coming in to replace Galvin, and that Jerome Luai rather play with him. I'm thinking, if you're building the club and the direction they want to go, you'd be hoping that in their board meetings in the next few years, they want to win a comp. Otherwise, they're wasting everyone's time, aren't they? Like, you'd think the Tigers are building a roster to win a comp. And if you're asking me who is in that spine to win a comp, they need the top 3 or 4 halves, top 3 probably in the comp to win that comp. They've got Jerome there, so potentially they can get someone that's a foil. But going backwards to developing another young half and then trying to fit the puzzle, it's a huge loss is what I'm trying to say. And Galvin was that guy, obviously a local kid or Campbelltown kid, but a Tigers junior, came through. It's a huge loss. Like, you can't sugarcoat how big a loss it is. And I think they know that, and that was why they were so disappointed. But unless they can land a top 3 half or someone in that elite level at fullback, they've got a good 9, at fullback or 7 or
they've
6.
They've got a great fullback in Buller.
They have, yeah, but they need someone. For me, they need an elite to go to that next level. I'm talking about them winning a comp or getting into the top 4 and being a powerhouse club week. Year after year.
So you believe Adam Reynolds does that?
Well, Adam Reynolds would, yeah. He would, but he's obviously getting older in the tooth. We're massive fans of Reno, obviously, but he's getting a bit older. But I think he would be someone that would be effective there for sure for a year or two. But, yeah, you just can't underestimate how big a loss Galvin is for that club, for my opinion.
There's so much to talk about on it. It's just like one of those things. I heard someone come out and say, well, if Adam Reynolds is the answer, why isn't he the answer at the Broncos? Why isn't he doing that at the Broncos?
I think he is. He still is.
Yeah, I believe he is too. I think he's been great for the Broncos. I think there's an issue around that. But like anything, when all these things happen, there's a domino effect in so many different areas. Like we spoke about just then that the Tigers have come out and Adam's come out and said that there's been interest from the Tigers. If I was the Gold Coast Titans and you can half see the interest from Adam Reynolds to go to Sydney to play for the West Tigers, I would go through my checkbook, work out what I can offer him. He's at 45 to an hour up the road. Doesn't want to leave Queensland because he speaks about that. If I was the Gold Coast Titans and Kieran Foran was deciding he's going to retire at the end of the season, if that happens, I would do whatever I can for Adam Reynolds to come to the Gold Coast Titans to develop the young kid there that I spoke about, Zane Harrison. He's probably not ready at the moment, but he can jump in a car and drive down here. So Gold Coast Titans, if you're listening, if Adam Reynolds is interested in going to the West Tigers, work out what that is going to cost them and try and come up and trump him so he wouldn't have to leave Queensland.
While we're on the topic of halves, Toddy, I just wanted to throw a Cherry Evans debacle in there as well. Obviously, we'll get to the Roosters form soon. Both ex-Roosters players there. We know the club loves going for a big dog. They love hitting the mark on a superstar. There's obviously, 5 weeks ago you would have said Daly Cherry Evans is a great signing. And I still think he is, but how's that domino effect look? All of a sudden, the young guns are starting to step up. Hugo's been outstanding. Sandon Smith's playing decent footy. They're not Cherry Evans at this point in time. Sammy Walker's back soon, but I've heard a bit of innuendo in the game. There's a bit of talk, a bit of media. Everyone's starting to give their opinion because of the momentum the Roosters are creating through their young guns. Cherry's obviously in less form for Manly at the moment. Obviously got a big series ahead of him. He's one of the all-time greats. He's going to deliver wherever he goes. But how's that look for you, from your opinion?
I would stick with what they've got.
Yeah?
That's just purely on how they're going and what they look like as a group. Obviously, there's still a big question mark how Sam Walker comes back. Like anything, when you come back from a long layoff, what that looks like. But I don't know. I think it upsets the apple cart. Like with Walker and how he plays his footy, both right side players. It would change different parts of the Roosters' attack. If we looked at it and they did sign DCA, it would be him on the right, Walker on the left. Obviously, then you lose two players, Zavala. They've signed. If they hadn't signed Robson, they'll sign Robson next year. So then they'll lose. The Connor Watson will have to either go to 13 or they have to go to the bench. So then Zach Docker-Clay, who's been great, will obviously then go back to pecking order. And then that pecking order goes back further and further because all of a sudden then Sandon Smith or Hugo Savala becomes an option for that on the bench. Like there's so many players in different positions that will affect if DCE goes there. But if it was the other way around, they don't go with DCE. They put Robinson at 9. Connor goes to the bench or sits at 13, but Victor Radley's been great at 13. And then it's up to Sandon and Hugo to battle it out in the preseason that who takes the number 6 jumper. But we don't we know what the club's been like before. You were there in the prime time when it happened. But I also don't believe the effect Cooper had on the Roosters DCE would have. And that's not a knock on DCE as a player. I just thought Cooper Cronk was going there in a way better position because he had won competitions. He was proven in that area, in that arena, that he can go out and win a competition. Nick was right with it. We speak about godfathers and people get what they want. Nick got him at the time that they wanted him, went out and delivered, won 2 competitions. If DC had won 4 or 5 competitions at Manly and had stole the show at Manly in their competition wins, I would say yes to this answer, but he hasn't. And that's not saying he's a bad player. I rate him. He's an outstanding player, but I just don't think it works.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. That's for sure.
And as you said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Obviously, there was weeks ago saying that it was nearly close to being done. But now where there's smoke, there's fire. Someone pushes a bit of, stakes the fire with a stick, so it smokes a bit of festers the fire up, gets the fire going. So then if the Roosters turn around and renege on the deal, it doesn't look bad on their behalf because it's been in the media for a few weeks now.
Yeah,
it's the way the game works. There's always a strategy to stories and what comes out in the media and stuff like that. Because as we said in rugby league, where there's smoke, there's fire, and it usually comes. Like, we heard about this Lachie Galvin thing in the back burner, and now that fire has been delivered to a bushfire because he's now told us that he's going to the Dogs and he'll be leaving this year, where for a while it was just, okay, he'll leave next year and he'll be released for 26. But now he's released like everyone was talking about.
We must be the only podcast that just off the cuff. We got no structure. We just talk shit off the cuff. It's perfect.
Well, we just actually absolutely talk garbage. I talk about podcast The Journey, man. I was with Jimmy Maloney last Friday.
Oh, how was that, Toddy? Yeah, give us some
went
stories
down to
about
Culburra.
Went
down to Culburra last Friday. It was. I flew into Sydney. Maroon from Triple M. Down in Nowra.
Oh, yeah.
Maroon from Triple M. Picked me up from the airport and his Camaro. We took the drive down to Nowra and obviously we met Jimmy Maloney down there, had a great yarn. It was actually good chewing the fat with Jimmy about footy, so switched on. He's talking about some things he's doing away from the game, around footy with coaching and stuff. For coaches, it was so good to just sit there. Like, obviously I didn't have the beauty to play with Jimmy. Whatever club I was at and left, Jimmy went there and won competition. So we had a laugh about that. I don't know if I planted the seed and set the premiership window up, or Jimmy just went there and iced all the moments. So, but he's a good dude, Jimmy. And
any funny stories for us? Any out of the archives? You would have a few.
We spoke about it was actually in 2010 or 11 when he was at the Warriors and I was at the Roosters, and the Warriors they'd just been pumped, and he said he played a woeful game, and they weren't allowed out, so him and Russell Packer were having a beer in the room. They were allowed to have a beer at the hotel, and Russell Packer said to Jimmy, "I'm just going to go down to sneak down the Coogee Bay," and Jimmy goes, "I've got some tab tickets. I'll come for a quick walk down with you." Walked into the tab room, and there was me sitting with Anthony Watts and Arana Tamata. So to say, that night ended up in the Cross.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so we had a laugh about that. Had a laugh about a few different things. Had a laugh about my great mate sitting in front of me, our Ratchar.
But it was good. Stories with Jimmy.
Yeah, it was a good weekend actually.
A good man, the great Jimmy Maloney.
Oh, great man.
Smart footy guy, isn't he? Very smart. He's got a good perspective. I love what Jimmy said. He said a really good thing we brought up the other week about the coaches. I think we brought it up on one of the podcasts about how it's the system of coaches, how it's a bit, it's just regurgitated, the system of coaches. He goes, coach gets sacked from one club and then they're brought into another club straight away doing the same job. He just he speaks, he looks from the game from outside the box, Jimmy. He played like that and he talks like that. It's good. It's refreshing.
Talking about the coaches, we had a bit of a discussion about this on Friday night before we went to air on the footy about the Perth Bears. Obviously, there's a lot of speculation about who the coach will be. We had our opinions on who we thought. Obviously, Brad Arthur was the front runner until Mal put his hand up. And they're talking maybe Mal and Sammy Burgess, so Mal being the director and Sammy Burgess being the coach, or Mal being the coach and Sammy being the assistant, sort of grooming for years to come. Obviously, Kevy Walters has been sounded out for the role. What are your thoughts on it? How would you play it out? If you were a player, if you're wind yourself back, say 5 years, so you're 30, 31, what would you want to go to the Bears? Who would you want as your coach?
I like the idea. Sam Burgess, for me, all I've heard is just massive compliments on Sam Burgess. I've met him a few times, don't know him well. I actually had a conversation with him once, and it's actually a coach I'm going to bring up after this, my mate Willie Peters, who I think would be another one that I want to go into detail about after. But it's when I was at Newcastle, and Willie was my assistant coach, and he's talking about leadership, and he said Sam Burgess is the best leader he's ever coached, been around, loved him as a bloke, and we had a phone call on the phone. Obviously, a phone call on the phone. But we had a chat on the phone. We had a chat, and honestly, just one of those guys. Like our great mate Boydie Cordner, just got presence. They're just the way they talk, just the born leaders. And from all reports, I don't know if you've had much to do with him, Toddy, but yeah, he just seems like a guy you don't want to let down. So you think naturally Sam's going to get a start soon. He's doing great things over here. But yeah, I want to push for my mate Willie Peters because I think he's ready. He's been in the system for a long time. I've got a couple of great mates playing with him at Hull at the moment. And yeah, they're good, strong sort of blokes, and they got a lot of respect for Willie, and they love the way he does things. The whole club there, they're on top of the ladder. He's in the Challenge Cup final in 2 weeks. He's played a grand final last year over here in Super League. They played a Challenge Cup and got beat in his first year. But as I said, he's in another one this year, and they're looking very likely of winning the competition this year. He can't do any more. He's been around Wayne Bennett for South Sydney. He was in Newcastle when I was there. Always more around the attack. But as I said, from all reports from my mates that are there, they speak about his leadership, his strength in and around all the standards. And I know he wants to step up into that role if something popped up. But, mate, I've got nothing but respect for the guy. And I think he's one that needs to be need his name thrown in the hat. Obviously, Kevy's obviously proven. Kevy's been there and done that plenty of times. But and he'd be a great candidate too. But, yeah, Willie Peters, to all the footy nerds listening, if you watch closely the way his team's going over here, and I can't speak highly enough of him. So, for me, it'd be out of him or Sam Burgess. But, obviously, like I just said, Kevy too. We had the luxury to sit down with Kevy, which will obviously come out in soon to be. We had a really good chat with him. We both walked away in awe of Kevy. We loved his energy. We loved his leadership. Great fella, and I know got a couple of messages after and kept in contact with Kevy, and his record speaks for itself. So there's a couple of good ones there. It'll obviously be, do they go with the new blood or the old blood?
Yeah, I like the combination of Mal and Sammy Burgess. I think if obviously the game can do whatever it can to make Perth Bears successful, I would leave Mal in the Australian job, give him that opportunity to oversee what's going on there. Also gives him a bit more pull when they're trying to sign players. Obviously, Mal's the incumbent Australian coach, so he'd have that sort of pull between players. Obviously, if they need to go out and sign those top-end players, it would give him also a little bit of bargaining power. I think Sammy Burgess will do a great job. We look at the younger coaches now. But yeah, it's definitely another watch your spacing where it's going to come. Obviously, we speak about there's 5 things like that. But I think it would be whoever gets a job, obviously, is going to be under a lot of pressure. But I believe that if them two would be able to do it and they could find a way to do it, it'd be cool.
The other one's Brad Arthur that they've been tossing up as well.
But the same thing, it's going really quiet. And usually when things go really quiet, it means that they're pushing in another direction, but who knows? It's just
Where's Jason Demetriou at too, Toddy? We obviously did some work with him on Triple M.
He's doing stuff at Papua New Guinea, and also works at Westfield Sports. He's a coach at Westfields. I'm pretty sure.
Jason Demetriou is a coach at Westfields.
Yeah, right. He took the coaching job there. So it'll be interesting to see where he falls. But obviously there is some candidates when it does come that they are looking for positions. I'm sure they're doing some research in the background. I listened to your dad talk the other night. He has a fair bit of input into it. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. But so many people want the job, but it'll be only fit for 1 or 2. So it'll be interesting to see. We're here now to talk about our round 12 review, and our first game of the weekend was the Bulldogs 4, Dolphins 44. It was a one-sided performance. It was the Dolphins. We just spoken about them before. When they've got momentum and they're in their groove. They're very hard to contain, and that the guy we always speak about, and it's not just because he's a number 7. It's just because he always puts his hand up to be spoken about. Was Isaiah Katoa again? Steered the ship really well, but they just out-enthused the Dogs. I thought in games that the Dogs have been poor in, they've been out-enthused early. When they got touched up by the Broncos, they were out-enthused early. When the Raiders had them on the sword, when the Roosters had them on the sword, they were out enthused, but they had their leaders to pull it back and get the win. But on the weekend, the Dolphins, they just had them on the back foot all the time and continued because they were just out enthused. And they actually went at the Dogs.
Yeah, it was a great game. You spoke about the blowout score. It was 8-8 at 35 minutes.
Sorry, 44-8 it was.
Yeah, but I think it was 8 all till about 35 minutes before Bostock scored in the left corner, which all the floodgates opened up after half time. But I thought it was a great balance between shifting the ball in the wet and then obviously their tries through the middle. Katoa's change of angle with Avarilla. Kerr put one beautiful offload through the ruck there. But they, I think Dolphins, I saw 80% completions. Dogs missed over 50 tackles for the game, which is unlike the Dogs to miss that many tackles. I know they had a few players out, obviously Crichton, their spiritual leader. And I thought the Dolphins did a good job at targeting that edge. The thing that impressed me, we talk about attack, you spoke about Katoa. I love the depth that the Dolphins are playing with on their edges. I know it was effective against the Dogs. They've obviously got that up and in defence style and they really press you. They sort of tucked really deep. There was a period there, I don't know if there's any footage from Gabe, but there was a couple of block plays there where their second receiver out the back was catching sort of from a try line. They were catching to like 20-metre line. So there's a lot of depth and they had some joy there. Avarilla put the Bostock try over where it was a similar play, really deep, letting the Dogs' defence or encouraging the Dogs' defence to come at them and then playing, which is very difficult, as we know. It's very difficult to do in the wet weather as well. So I thought they had a good balance with that. And then obviously playing through them, that Katoa try, change of angles, and then that little angle play off Avarilla to score was outstanding. But yeah, I thought the Dogs, they looked flat, lethargic. I want to ask you a question about the Dogs because I know we spoke a bit during the week off air, and you were a bit worried about the balloon popping at one point.
Yeah, I only say that because obviously when I just mentioned, they got beat by the Broncos up here in Brisbane. They were out in Thursday and it looked like a team had done their research on them and research how to beat them. Then the following week they play the Raiders. The Raiders have them down 20-0 at halftime. Great teams do. They come back and they end up beating the Raiders. Following weekend, Roosters have them 14-0 after early start of the game. They come back and win. I just feel that, and then on the weekend, yes, they had lots of players out, but so did the Dolphins. Dolphins had arguably one of their better players out in the Hammer. So both teams were missing players. I just believe, it's just an opinion. I think that when it comes to the back end of the year, the bubble will burst. I just don't think they'll compete with the teams that have been there before. And I don't know, I'm not going to single out where it comes from. And I also believe now that with the Galvin situation going there, while it's a handy pickup, how he fits into their structures, how he fits into their belief system, how he fits into what they've gained over the preseason and that mentality that they have, you speak about it, that they've got that real tight-knit group. How does he fall straight into that and how does the attack hum straight away and how it is now? Obviously, they're comfortable and they've got Sexton there. He controls all their kicking game. Who takes all the short kicking game for the Dogs? Now, if Sexton was to go out, Lachie Galvin doesn't have a great short kicking game and Birdo doesn't take short kicks. He's the big kicker. So there's going to be a lot of workload. So I believe this was – I thought the bubble was going to burst before Galvin had even gone there, but I think it'll change a little bit. But yeah, I've
got an argument to that, Toddy. The only argument I got to that, we spoke about Gus and how calculated and clever he is with the way he does things. Do you think he wouldn't have thought of all that stuff and the side effect? Do you think he wouldn't have put the wheels in motion before, potentially, to... Like, is he that stupid that he'd try and unsettle a year by doing this? Like, just going off his history? He's normally pretty clever.
Well, there's a long-term plan for Gus. Gus talks about long-term plans. So if they have minimal success this year and then in the years to come have success from what he's built, he'll get more of a pat on the back than the success he has now. He talks about a long-term plan, but who knows? That's just an opinion. Like, they might come out and win the next 10 games. I don't know. I've had egg in my face before, and I'm happy to cop more egg in my face, but I just feel that...
I got about 20 packets of eggs on my face after last 2 weeks.
But it's...
I got about 10 boxes on it.
Yeah, it's... I don't know. They got beat heavily again, but the Dolphins, for me, they were really good. I want to talk about a particular play where I've seen a few teams do it over the last few weeks, is where the half skips across the field and usually has a double cross, but it's one cross, and then Averillo scored off on the weekend. A few weeks ago, Ethan Strange from the Raiders scored off a similar play. They're using their faster, stronger guys that have got a little bit of footwork. So having the double setup, so double cross. So you cross this guy, then there's a guy coming from in behind the sort of cross play. So it's a straight across, not sort of cutting back in behind him. It was a great well-worked try on the weekend for Averillo. And a few weeks ago, Ethan Strange done it. A few of the teams are bringing Jack Whiten does it. The 2 weeks ago, the Bulldogs done it with Matt Burton, brought him back through the middle from a cross play. Yeah, here it is. So you got Katoa coming across, and what it does where the outside runner here is, so he'd be the next guy usually coming under. They're getting, the way they're looking here is Burton has eyes on Katoa, and then he'll have to have eyes on the centre because it looks like they'll have a block play with Averillo at the back. So Averillo, instead of scooting out the back to play a traditional block play, he straightens his run back up to go under Katoa. You got the picture of where we're talking about then. Over the next few hours after we get off here, Gabe will jump up and try and find the Matty Burton one and the Ethan Strange one so we can throw it up. But it's definitely...
Just a question for that, Toddy. Just a question for that, because I want to ask you, speak about, and you're one of the best at getting across the field and changing angles. And we've had plenty of chats about this sort of stuff over the years. It just doesn't make sense when... Like, that is a better play done 5 to 10 to 15 times a game if you're getting a quick play of the ball and then you play off the back of it than just a block play to get buried and jammed on a sideline and have to take a settler. It's a bit of a false mentality. And I went through this sort of soul-searching in the back end of my career when you start to become a bit smarter and the game's a bit slower. As I said, I did it a fair bit when I was playing over here with my halves. We spoke a lot about if it's not on to go out there and it's a slow play the ball, fuck the block off. There's no point going there. You're just going to get jammed. Like, you're going there because it's a set play, but there's no thought around it. These plays you're talking about, and you were really good at it. If nothing's on out there, why would you waste a play that you have to take a settler after? Cross play, get a quick play of the ball, and then get them on the next one. Like, and as you're saying, we're seeing more of it now in the game. Obviously, because coaches and players are thinking like this now. What's the point of getting caught on the sideline? Potentially to force an error from the opposition because it's a slow and a shit play. Just drop them under, turn them under, and then see what comes off the back of it.
Well, a lot of it comes back to the coaching when you come through. Obviously, we talk about structures and people getting to positions on the field and stuff like that. I've done some coaching with a group of kids yesterday in Toowoomba. Sam Elvey is the coach of the Clydesdales up there. He's doing a great job in grassroots footy. He's got a massive load of kids that he coaches weekly, and I went up and done some halves stuff yesterday, and you talk about it. I had this discussion about the structures and why they play and things, and I put a group of kids together, and I said, okay, well, you two go over there and this one stay here. I said, you're now going to have a competition who's going to win. And I said, well, what's your first thought? And I said to the group that was there, who's going to win? And they go, well, the two guys are going to beat the one guy. And I said, okay, why? Well, they've got more players. And I said, okay, well, why when we look at a short side and kids go, okay, well, we're going to get to the 6 on the field and we've got 4 attackers and 3 defenders, but we continue to go left to the player we've set up. If we've got an overlap and we've got the unfair advantage, why not just take this play, the easier play? Well, because we don't think about it. Because
and
it's
why,
not...
to explain to the viewers, why are players even at an elite level not taking that? Do you think it's because it's just preconceived in their mind, I have to do this?
They're worried about going away from the structure.
Yeah. We're seeing more of it open up now, though, in the NRL.
Yeah, but there's players taking it. There's actually fullbacks are starting to take it. It will start to open up a whole lot more because the game's getting so fast. And you said, why go there when you can drop someone under and create a quick play the ball? You just said it perfectly. To drop someone under to bring people back through a change of direction, it creates quick play the balls. It's all on the back of quick play the balls tries. Hardly any tries scored on a slow play the ball, unless there's a master inside that, someone like Joey Johns or Katoa at the moment or Cleary that can play off the slow play the ball. Any other try that's scored is off a quick play the ball. Our next game was Friday night at CommBank Stadium, a game that I commentated live. Parra batter 30 over Manly 10. Parra go back-to-back, first time this year. The difference for me was Dylan Walker. When he come to the field, we spoke about him pre-game, about what he does to the Parra team when he comes on. Obviously, Mitchell Moses was missing the other night, and we spoke about how they would be relieved of pressure on the halves, and Dylan Brown done that when he come on. He actually frees them up. But Dean Hawkins done a really good job the other night. He played a few games in Mitchell Moses' absent early in the year. And he even said it after the game. I asked him a question about what's the difference tonight was for him, and he just said it was confidence, and the confidence had players in and around him and how confident they're playing. And it showed for me. Dylan Brown was in everything again, taking the ball on. But my man of the match live on the night was Isaiah Yongi. He's just getting better and better. He's a confident kid. And they... Early on, I thought Manly, before the game and right through the end of the game, I had Manly to win the game. I tipped Manly pre-game. They had plenty of opportunities, but the Parramatta team held them out, and we spoke about that momentum thing. When they had the momentum, they capitalised on it, and that was on the back of blokes pushing into space, completing after points, and just taking their opportunities. And the big one was when Dylan Walker got out wide, tied middle for the Manly team. He looked to play in and skipped on the outside of Takiaho, just coming from out, playing footy out of their own red zone, where most teams usually just bash it up. But they changed it up a bit, and they got away for a really good win.
Yeah, all the players you just mentioned, Ione, Hawkins, and Dylan Walker for me were standouts. I love Dylan Walker's influence there when he came on at lock. They're sort of starting to use him probably how they predicted to use him when they bought him early in the year. Start of the year, I thought he was, when their form was down, it was a little bit uncertain how they were going to use him, but they've found his role there, that ball playing lock that can get across with speed and be a link man. And I was really surprised the fact of how well they played. Hawkins, I thought with Hawkins and Ione there, obviously he's been outstanding all year, but I thought with the inexperience they were going to struggle a little bit. It was a tight game. It was about 10-all for early parts of the game. I thought Turbo was looking dangerous with Kohler and Hopper there on that left edge. But yeah, Parra, too good. Some of the tries from Hawkins that he had his hand in, about 3 or 4 try assists for the game. Played with a heap of confidence. And the thing is, as we know, Toddy, like it's a credit to Rylesy and Brownie there who are running their systems to come. I was so impressed with Rylesy at the start of the year. Like after a few losses, he never flinched once in his press conferences. He was really steely. Everyone was knifing him. Same old Parra. I was vocal about it. I think we all were on this podcast about how bad Parra were, and I couldn't see the light. But you know, to Rylesy's credit, he didn't flinch. He knew where he was going, and now he's reaping the rewards. And you can see what influence they've had with their attack. Like, you know, a good attacking system and a good coach when your best players step out and they're still playing the same principles. And what I mean by that is, you know, it's all organised. Whoever comes into that system is clear about what they're doing, especially when you're playing that shot footy that Parramatta is at the moment. Like, that's not easy to do. We know more than anyone. Like, if your system and your coaching isn't educating that, it's very hard for a young guy to come in and play like that. But they still play with freedom, like that Mitch Moses was there. I didn't see that at the start of the year, but now they have. And it's obviously because of the work that they've put in. Riles and Nathan Brown there have been patient, and now they're reaping the rewards with just a good style of footy. They're
I like Jack Williams on the edge. He played really well on the edge on the weekend. Jack Williams on the right side. Good. Kit Katongi. Their change of hands through the middle of their big fellas, using their middles up, so tip, block, or just a tip block out the back. freeing up their space through the middle. But they were really impressive. I guess when we speak about the domino effect of the Galvin situation where he's decided to go the Bulldogs, obviously for a long time we thought definitely going to Parramatta. Is obviously management's linked to Parramatta with Moses. I seen Moses there on Friday night. Who does a team like the Parramatta team go for? Who's a player Parra go for now, do you think? Because would they need a 6?
Do you get an Adam Reynolds?
Nah, I don't think they'll go for Reynolds.
Galvin was the one, wasn't he? But
yeah.
It's so good to see, though, as well, just talking about replacements. Dylan Brown, he's been outstanding. Obviously, want to keep giving him as many raps as we can because he's got criticised hard at the start of the year. But, geez, he's been good. Just playing that traditional 6 role, but his support play, he's just
Do they go
natural.
for a Clifford?
Cliffo?
I don't know. I'm just trying to toss things out to stake the fire, get some fire going.
Cliffo would be an option. Mate, to be honest, it'd be... Who's our other man that they put 6 last week? I've just had a brain snap.
Purdue.
Purdue. He'd be someone that's...
He won't leave there. Definitely.
Hawkins was good, though.
Hawkins was great. He was great for him. He wouldn't look out of place, obviously, playing outside of Mitch, but like all clubs, they always try and fill their roster with... they're spied with some elite players. I thought Riley Smith on the weekend played one of his better games to the club. Finding his feet there in the middle. He got over 58 tackles or something through the middle and come up with some really handy plays through the middle. But as you spoke about, Dylan Walker was the change up, the difference through the middle. I was disappointed with Manly because early in the game they went hard at their left side. They lost their centre early, Parramatta, and Papa Lee come onto the field. He's a known fullback, 5'8", plays a bit of 5'8" and fullback. Defended on the wing, and they had so much joy there, but then just sort of went away from it in the game when they had so much joy. I thought they would have continued to go down there because in the box we're talking about Hopper's going to have an outstanding night out. He's already got 2 tries in the first 15, 20 minutes, and then all of a sudden they just go away from it.
Is that Cherry Evans' influence not being there?
I'm not too sure.
To the plan?
It'd be an interesting one. I don't know. Luke Brooks has been around long enough to stick to a plan. He was on that left side of the field. It's his side of the field to own it. I think some pressure will start to come on. Obviously, DC will be leaving it next year. Obviously, Jamal Fogarty will go there and steer the ship next year. But yeah, I wasn't overly impressed with Manly's performance on the weekend. Yes, they had some players out, but so did Parra. The excuse of having players out is starting to wear thin.
Well, as we said, there's no excuses now because the teams that are winning with players out, playing their best footy, as you said, that excuse is dead. It's not really working anymore, is it?
2 teams that were depleted on the weekend was the Newcastle Knights and the Penrith Panthers. And the Newcastle Knights, 25, register their first win in a low start to the season over the Panthers 6. They went like a bull out of gate out there and just had it all over the Panthers. They capitalised early and stuck at it. Tyson Gamble and Dylan... What's his name? I've just lost his name.
Dylan Lucas.
Dylan Lucas on the left edge was just running a havoc, causing a grief on the right side defence for the Penrith team. Matt Schneider, Tago. Tago moved to the back row early, and I guess they would have seen that. And well done to Tyson Gamble. Obviously, there's been some critics about his performance over the last few weeks, but as you can do as players, you go out there and put your best performance forward, and he went there and done that. He had his hand in 3 or 4 tries. Obviously, those tries were from Dylan Lucas. But yeah, it was a great win for Newcastle. It was a good view of what to see when they were without Kalen Ponga. Fletcher Sharpe started at fullback, was in everything. I think what it showed on the weekend for the Newcastle team, if they've got attacking threats both sides, obviously KP was out, but if you've got genuine 6s and 7s, and I'm not saying Fletcher Sharpe isn't a genuine 6, But if you've got two halves on both sides of the field, it actually becomes more of a threat where Fletcher probably is more just a runner on that left side. He's pigeonholed to the left side of the field, so they've only got to worry about him on the left side of the field. But when he's at fullback or roaming around, it gives him a chance to push through other parts of the field. I spoke about it a few weeks ago. If you could manage him on the wing and let him play through the middle of the field when the ball goes away from him, I think would be a threat. But obviously he's dangerous at fullback, but he won't keep that spot because KP will come back. But I would look at trying to find a spot for Fletcher's spot that just gives him an opportunity to just play his own style of footy, because at 6, he's got to worry about other things like find a kick, set up play, how to unlock Kalen, where from the weekend, I'm looking at it going, yes, how do we unlock Kalen, but how do we unlock Fletcher?
Yeah, it just added even more confusion to me as an ex-Knights player and watching the Knights play because of how well they played. So firstly, we've always been picking the bones out of Newey the last few weeks, rightly so with the lack of creativity in the attack. But yeah, I loved watching them play. I thought it was a great game for Gamble. As we know, going into a game when you have a game plan, obviously young Snyder was there, Nathan Cleary's out. Your game plan is your first couple of sets down there, let's attack this young kid, let's see if he's any good. Boom, boom, try. Straight away, you get oxygen as a half. And Gamble needed that. Fletcher Sharpe needed that. The club needed that. You need that oxygen to give you some confidence. You're holding your fingers, praying, going, I hope this works. And it worked for them. And it was a perfect game for them. They pounced when Penrith weren't at their best. Fletcher Sharpe, as you just said, it's a funny thing. I think last year they won 4 games when KP didn't play. Then KP is one of the best players in the comp, and they can't win without him in big games. So I totally agree with what you're saying, and it's such as I just said, a confusing Newcastle Knights system again, because how do we unlock all the rest of them while we're still getting the best out of KP, and then how do we get consistency in this type of footy all the time? So it's hard to pinpoint it, but
there's a fallback on a heavy reliance of KP. Do they have to cut the reliance of what they try and use him for?
I think it's a mentality thing. I think it's a mentality thing. It's
definitely a mentality thing. Like, obviously, their backs against the wall, and they're getting pizzled from post to post about how their performances are going and things like that.
I'm saying I think it's a mentality thing about, like, Fletcher Sharpe. So when KP's there, as you just said, they're orchestrating it more for KP or setting up situations for KP where when he's not there, you see a bit more of a freer style. But as I said, it could have also been the scenario, the way the game went. Obviously, they got some joy there on Dylan Lucas on that Penrith's right edge. Penrith's right edge had a bad day. They targeted the weakness and they got some joy off it. So, but yeah, it was good to see. And that sort of freestyle is probably the way Newcastle need to go, isn't it? That's the criticism on them, that they look rigid. A lot of the time, even when KP's there, they struggle to let the reins go. And they definitely let the reins go on the weekend. Was that Fletcher Sharpe's influence? Who knows? But keep at it, boys. It was outstanding to watch. And Dylan Lucas, he's a super player. He's a chance, I reckon, if there's a few injuries, potentially get caught up within the squad for New South Wales. Maybe not to play,
100%.
but to get experience this year, I can see him getting called up to the squad. But I want to ask you, Toddy, about also I wanted to say for Newcastle too, another compliment. They obviously had Jacob Safidi out in the weekend, Leo Thompson and KP. Everyone spoke about Penrith, poor old Penrith with all their rep players out. Well, Newcastle did it the hard way on the weekend, had a huge win. So congratulations.
Bradman Best, Greg Marzu. They had a fair list
Bradman
out.
Best too, yeah.
Greg Marzu out. Would KP
was just
fit in the
Penrith,
six jumper?
Who's that?
Would KP fit in the 6 jumper?
They've tried it. When I was playing there with KP, we had
but you didn't have Fletcher Sharpe at 1.
No, that's the thing. It's just the defence with me for KP, because he's when he defends in the front line, it might have improved, but he's a great defender. But he was very aggressive with his defence, and he was causing a lot of head knocks, if you can recall, when he was playing there. So that's the reason they moved him back, to protect his body at first, because of the load on D, and it was sort of hampering his physically, and then also that creativity wasn't as fresh. So I don't know. It's It's a puzzle that everyone's trying to work out, isn't it, up there? But
defending the fullback, play him on the left side at first receiver, let Fletcher Sharpe roam around the field.
How good's Fletcher Sharpe? Let's just say that. How good is he?
He's
mold strength.
This is just us talking about how we'd unpuzzle things. It's not. So our listeners or to people out there, if we put this clip up, what we say is not always true.
Toddy, to answer the question you asked me how the best way to play, I think with Dylan Brown going there and the way KP is that free-spirited type of player, he's a very creative guy. You don't want to box KP in. And by watching Fletcher Sharpe week to week, he's similar. He's just a footy player. Dylan Brown's just a footy player. I think their whole culture needs to change around the way that they play. And maybe that's the genius of...
How long's Fletcher Sharpe signed for?
They'd have him there for 20 years, wouldn't they?
I'll have a look for you. I'll get back to you.
Cessnock kid, he ain't leaving. He's a freak, but how strong is he? Quick,
he's great.
Fast, strong. What's doing with Penrith, Toddy?
He's signed until the end of 2028.
Yeah, okay. Oh, Penrith. It's
just fatigue, yeah.
It's
big
just
load.
Been one of those years. Big load. Obviously, a lot of players out again on the weekend. Before the game, we're looking at the ladder. They're only a few games out of the top 8. It's a hard one because even when Penrith aren't full strength, so when your teams go there to play against the Panthers, you give your best performance because you know what they're like on their best day. They're not on their best day at the moment every week, so teams are going to go there and try and ambush them early, and that's what the Knights done. They're going to be up against it for the back end of the year. Obviously, we've still got 2 more games of Origin to go. They're chasing their tails already, so they're going to have to come up with a massive back end of the year to push for finals. But the more and more it goes on, I keep sort of giving them that little bit of string to say, okay, yeah, we're gonna see the best of them. When's enough's enough? When to say, okay, well, they're not going to play finals this year because they are sitting on their own at the bottom now on 9 points.
Yeah, it's hard. Look, it's probably just fatigue, isn't it? They've been up for so long, and it's just it must be hard. 5 grand finals, 4 competitions, bit of fatigue kicking in. But I saw Gal say today on something I was watching. Gal spoke about it's going to be a difficult ask because the position that they're in, they have to get all their Origin players backing up. They have to win. So instead of you're a top 4 side, top 8 side, you rest your Origin players for the back end of the year. They don't have that luxury. They need to win. So how Ivan Cleary sort of manages all that will be very interesting. Does he play Nathan and Yowie? To get the wins, or does he
I believe Nathan and Yowie will want to play. They'll want to play.
Yeah.
They'll want to get the team out of it. They're 2 leaders. So we'll see some desperate footy from Penrith, I reckon. I reckon they'll change it up a little bit. They're going to have to try and do something to work it. But as you said, we've sat down with the great Nathan Cleary before and had a discussion about it. I'm sure he'll be up for the challenge. But you can't write them off either way. Even if they don't make finals, they've had a great run at competitions and things like that. So there'll be
how shitty do you get when people bag them? People have short memories,
right.
Don't
Yeah,
they?
Yeah, so true.
People
On to our
bag
next game was the Sydney Roosters.
Before we move on, boys, I've just got 2 more questions regarding the Knights. With the way the boys played, they got a good win. Do you still think Jackson Hastings needs to get called back into the team? And would you say that Fletcher Sharpe individually has been more dangerous than Kalen Ponga this year?
Gabe, you're asking us straight after a win, and then
you're asking us a double-ended sword. The double-ended sword has probably gone from a double-ended sword to just one end now. Jackson Hastings won't play at Newcastle again.
That's it. We've worked that out with all feedback, haven't we, Toddy?
Yeah, we've worked that out. Obviously, I brought it up last week that the milkman jumped the fence like it was a joke. People coming at me saying that you shouldn't bring up things like that. Our podcast isn't about that. We don't bring up stories to try and put fuel to a fire. It was a laugh trying to think of why Jackson Hastings wasn't in a team that hadn't won any games when he's playing well in a lower grade. Then there's so many other things about it, but Fletcher Sharpe's been outstanding. Is he as good as KP? Not yet. his influence on the weekend was probably more influential than KP because KP wasn't in the team.
Yeah, I just thought the last couple of weeks he's just looked individually a bit more dangerous. Obviously, I don't think he's KP's level yet, but on his own, he seemed to have been able to find a bit more freedom. Maybe that's off the back of KP as well.
Well, the thing, to answer your question, Gabe, you look at names, if you just say those names, Fletcher Sharpe, KP and Dylan Brown, like, if they can't win 70% of their footy games next year with the pack they got, well, I'm confused.
Yeah,
what showed on the weekend?
It's way better team than anyone else. It's way better team than half the rest of the teams in the comp.
What it showed on the weekend, Gabe, was you can't pigeonhole Fletcher Sharpe to the left side of the field. And as a half, he has to do that because he has to come up with his opportunities on the left side because if he misses that in the left side and he's over the other side of the field, they need a way how to free up Fletcher Sharpe or give him more time to develop as a six and come up with the big plays himself instead of using his raw ability to find space because he's got space in front of him. You're not always going to have space on the left side of the field because teams will number up on you and neglect the other side because there's no threat the other side because when they come down the left side, usually now it's Fletcher Sharpe and KP, so there's probably also already an extra defender on him anyway. So he's got to work out the ability to play when that's in front of him and not the ad-lib style, or they need to move him to give him that ad-lib free style footy. So our next game, the Sydney Roosters 42 over the Sharks 16. James Tedesco was unbelievable again. You know what? The whole Roosters team, we spoke about them a few times this year about will they play finals, how they go on, the pressure's on Robbo, things like that. But what they've done, they've just flipped that whole script on its head. Yes, they'll play finals this year if they continue to play like that. Robbo's not under pressure. If anything, Robbo's got an upgrade with how they're going, the way he's got the group going together. Obviously, they're still waiting for Sam Walker to come back in, but Sandon Smith and Hugo Zavala have found a really good combination together. They played to their strengths on the weekend, I thought, the Roosters. Early on, they just rolled down the middle, kicked long, made Sharks come out of their back end. And then when they got down there, they just kicked to their threat. They went to Tupou, leaps up over, scores a try. Next opportunity they get back down there, they do the same thing. They went with what works. So they played to their strengths. And then once the game was gone, I thought Cronulla give up.
Big call.
Not give up, but they weren't in the fight. They weren't in the fight from the game. The score showed that. I suppose.
Do you think Cronulla went in? Do you think Cronulla's gone in off the back of the Melbourne game complacent? We've been there a million times. Where you come off feeling like Superman. They've just got over the hurdle of we can't beat top four sides. They've gone in complacent, looking at a Roosters squad that on paper they should have won. Do you think it's complacency instead of,
Well, I don't know. It has to come down to something, or the Roosters just outperformed them, and that's what it looked like to me. Looking at the game, there's still a class team, the Roosters.
Yeah. It's a credit to... Talking about the Roosters, Toddy, and you talk about changing the narrative of our season's done. It's a credit to Robbo. Like we've both been coached by Robbo, and just to give Robbo a massive rap. Like the situation they were in 4 weeks ago, it only takes a great coach to be able to flip the energy of a group, a young group that's got no real direction, or they don't really know where they're going. They're getting criticised. To be able to take all the weight off the players. The way that they're playing, like they're actually playing with more ad-lib than I've seen them play in years. Off the cuff, they've got more offloads in them. Even the Dogs, that first half against the Dogs until they lost the game at the back end, sort of let it slip. Some of the footy, the offloads, the short passes, everyone's staying in the moment. It's as good as I've seen them play in that regard for a couple of years. So... And I just feel like when you're playing that style, it's the energy of your coach. Like your coach can go two ways when you're losing. Your coach can come in and be negative, hammer down on everyone, bring heavy weight to the group, or he can flip the narrative as the underdogs that we're going to go out and play free, play this supportive style of footy and invest in all the young kids. And that's what they've done. So I can't give Robbo a big enough rap for what he's done.
Okay. we welcome back Sam Walker. I think it's round 15, they're saying. Depending on how he returns, plus with all their Origin players come back in the fold, fully fit, are the Roosters a premiership threat, do you think?
This year?
Yeah.
No, I don't think the boys can win the comp this year.
I do.
Yeah?
Yeah, I reckon them fully fit. I reckon them fully fit. The way they're playing, the way they're turning the season around, with some of the players they've got that are unfazed, I feel if they can get their fully fit team on the park, they're a massive threat.
Hugo's long kicking game is as good as Mitch Moses. It's a big call.
Yeah.
But Hugo Savala, the way he's...
So is Hugo... Okay, there's another question for you. Is Hugo the partner? Is Hugo the partner of Sam Walker? Or is it Sandon Smith?
I think with the length of kicking game, which is probably... Sam's not it's not his greatest strength, the length of his kicking game. He'd admit that himself. I think they need a Hugo there to kick. And the other thing I wanted to bring up, and we spoke about it, with all the success they had with Cooper Cronk, Luke Keary, all these players, Victor Radley was the main man. Victor Radley was the ball player. Victor Radley was the link man, similar to
he played so tough the other night.
Yeah, but it's his ball playing as well. He creates all the space. So I think with Hugo and with the way Teddy's playing short sides, he plays in support play, he pops up everywhere. I think Hugo's length of kicking game is what they need when Sam's back. And that's hard on Sandon because Sandon's been awesome too and he's going to play his part. But, yeah, Hugo's long kicking game is priceless. And the style of footy they play, as you just said, because they're physical, they've got great outside backs, they're in every contest. They need a guy that can kick the ball and land the ball 5 metres out from the try line continuously. That's what they need. And that's him. And Sam Walker's X factor is going to be huge for him. But, yeah, win the comp, Toddy.
Oh, they're a premiership threat. I mean, I reckon if they can push their way into the finals the back end of the year, which I believe they will once they're all back. Sam Walker comes back and displays footy like he was before he got injured. I think they become a threat.
Fuck, they look good. It's just credit to the energy because some clubs would go the other way, wouldn't they, with that start of the year? And it's just
what was the question? What was your thoughts on the Sharks? What was their issue?
Sharks for me, I thought they gave away a couple of penalties in yardage early, which gave the Roosters a lot of field position. I thought that hurt them. I couldn't say that it was momentum once again. And it was at where you give away your penalties. That's the big thing you spoke about at the start of the show about the way the game's change and the momentum swings. It's a lot of the time it's where you give your penalty away as well, isn't it? You know, you give a penalty away offside on your play 2 kick chase and gift the opposition 40, 50 metres downfield. Well, that's a fucking shit penalty. And I thought they had ill discipline in the wrong areas, which affected them. But yeah, I thought the Roosters just looked fitter and lighter. Cronulla to me looked heavy. I don't know, it was a side effect of the big game the week before. Sometimes that emotional build-up, as I said, maybe some complacency. It's just gonna happen for us, which when you're complacent, it usually comes out in your discipline and it comes out in your defence because you lose that little bit of edge. So I just thought they were out enthused.
The game of the round for me again was the Raiders 16 over the Warriors 10, and it was my cheddar.
Smart play there.
I hate. You know what I hate about you? It pisses me off that you just throwing it off. Like if that was you beating me 3-4 because your cheddar won, I'd be fucking ready to smash your head through the screen. But. Look at you, it's okay, I'll win. You know what?
Gabe, dress my dance up, bro.
Water off a duck's back, all right? Honestly, I
love my mate when he's up early in the morning. I love him when he's up early.
Here we go. Go some more magnesium and go to sleep, you wanker.
Yeah, into him.
Raiders 16 over the Warriors 10.
Mate, you would have gone for Raiders even if... Your cheddar would have been Raiders even if they were shit house. Canberra Raiders. I'm the only player who ever played for them.
Here he is. Here we go.
Here he goes. About time to fucking get you to jump out of your fucking skin, cunt.
That's funny.
Yeah,
Was a
the
good
good old
game, mate.
Raiders, mates. Raiders won 7 out of the last 8 games, just tracking them along nicely. It was always an interesting clash because watching both these teams live in Vegas. Obviously, the Raiders got the win over there in Vegas, but just the improvement, one on both teams, but also the improvement on the Warriors and how their form was going. They were going for, I think, 7 straight for this game. The bubble had to burst in the Raiders. It was a tight game. Both teams, it was 10-all right up to the back end. Jamal Fogarty, he doesn't break through. Someone breaks through the middle of the field and finds Jamal Fogarty and he scores in the corner. But I thought it was a game. Both teams really held it together. It was obviously on the back of Jamal's probably kicking game in the end that held it for the Warriors, for the Raiders. Both teams got 10 players in the bin. Charles Nickel-Coxstack goes 10 in the bin with 20 to go, which is when the Raiders score a try.
2 points, 2 points.
And then Starling goes to the bin. So both teams were down to 12 men at points in the game. But Raiders, they just continued to work a way to win. I thought Joseph Tarpany in the middle made it his own to get the Raiders back into it. They come up with a few little minor errors. Starling had a play the ball error. Seen Tarpany and Jamal go at it. Tarpany is like, I'm the fucking captain. I make the decision and the challenge. 2 plays later, Tarpany just folds Halasima and just spins the ball out. And from then on, the momentum went to the Raiders and they held on to it and they get another great win.
Yeah, it was a great game to watch. It was sort of what you expected from two of the top sides in the comp. As you said, there was lots of niggle, players arguing, 2 points, those big games. You think about a traditional big game, it's tight scoring and it comes down to, you think about Origins, top 4 clashes, it comes down to penalty goals and moments. Fogarty's try was a moment. Starlow's try was a moment. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck linking up with my man Charles Nickel-Coxstack at the backfield.
Charles Nickel-Coxstack.
End up getting a try. Little moments, Toddy. Little moments in big games is the difference, and there was plenty of big little moments. There's also some ill-discipline. Starlow, I think he's in a bit of doubt with that high tackle there at the end. He might be a couple of weeks on the sideline. The big red gets binned. But, yeah, it was just a great game of footy. As I said, moments. It's the best way to sum up the game. Fogarty was the man again, and as you said, I think Tapine, he's outstanding. He's the leader up there, and they're the real deal, the Raiders.
Did you see Tarpany doing the crybaby to the Warriors fans?
Yeah, they were into him after the game. And that
he put his hands under his eyes, started calling them crybabies.
Tamale was into him too after the game. They must have been ripping into him, the Warriors fans, after the game. The Raiders are into him. You just said it then, Mitch. The Raiders are the real deal. Do you believe they're a chance of winning the competition? Or does it get the luck? Because usually we see the Raiders track in. I listened to Cooper Cronk speak about it, that they need to finish in that top 4 to get that 2 shots at the cherry to win a competition. They're a massive threat. What about the Warriors?
I think both of them are massive. Yeah, I think both of them. For me, Canberra, they got this win, and I still think they're ahead above the Warriors as far as winning a competition. If you ask me who's going to win out of them two, I can see Warriors finishing the top 4. I can see Canberra holding up the trophy. I think they're the only side that can threaten Melbourne. You've seen that even when you were there. Melbourne was your bogey. Melbourne's bogey team has always been Canberra, hasn't it? You always had heaps of joy. I remember watching as a player and a fan and watching the games, and Canberra always turned it on against Melbourne. It's the style of footy that they played. I'm thinking about rattling off teams that I think have chances of winning the comp. Broncos. I think Canberra's got their measure at the moment. I think Warriors, well, they've just proven that. The Dogs, I think Canberra's got the side to go against the Dogs as well. So I think if you man them up man for man at the moment against their opposition, outside backs, they've got their best young outside backs in the comp. I've said that plenty of times. Their forwards offload the ball and get quicker play the balls than any other player, and it'll come down to the halves and Fogarty and Fogarty's playing as well as anyone, and he just keeps delivering. And he's coming up with moments in games. He's not just coming up with probably the Fogarty that we saw 2, 3, 4 years ago was a guy that would come in and out of games, have some moments of brilliance, some really good instinct, but he wasn't managing games. He's now got it all. So it's the defence as well, though, isn't it? Like, they're connected. They've got that steel about them. They're dogged. They're bullies. They've got a bit of bully about them, and that's what you need to win a comp.
Yeah, they go after things. That's one thing to do. They go after them. They stick to the long game. Raiders probably would have lost that game last year or the year before, but they know how to sort of stick at it, wait for their time to pounce and just stay in the fight. And that's probably credit to Ricky that he's got a great group of players there. Their leaders rally together. You see that any time there's a drop ball or there's something goes on after a try, the Raiders are nice and tight and connected group, and it's showing in their performances, getting their tight wins. The only glitch really in the last few weeks is obviously against the Bulldogs the other week, and they had them to the sword. They just got complacent and let the Dogs come back into it. So I believe they're a threat too. Well, that's a wrap for our round 12 review. Before we sort of say goodbye to our footy nerds, let's have a chat about Origin. Where our thoughts are going to go, who wins and why.
Yeah, for me, I said it. I think Queensland are going to get the nod on us. It's hard to say that. This is what sucks about these shows. I want to go for New South Wales. We're going to give an opinion.
What a wanker.
No.
Well, I'm going for the Blues, obviously.
Well, you're not.
I'm going for the Blues. Well, if I don't give an honest opinion, I told you, I said we're going to win the series, but I think we might drop game 1. I'm just going to cop a hammering from everyone for that. But I just think up there, I just think I'm worried they're going to be up for the fight. They're going to be physical. I don't think we'll have much room to breathe. Kalen Ponga worries me up there. He really does. A Kalen Ponga with class players around him worries me. It's been a year or so that he hasn't played Origin. Munster looks on at the moment. Cherry Evans. This is not me jumping. Mate, you're making it out like I'm turning on Queensland. We're winning the series. We're winning the series, but I can see Queensland getting a jump on us up there. On the alternative, the way I want it to go, our big, powerful centres dominate their outside backs. Mitch Moses' kicking game is world class. Nathan Cleary rights the critics wrong, which he doesn't have to do, but everyone still wants to criticise his New South Wales career. Nathan Cleary dominates the series. Payne Haas comes out of injury. He hasn't trained much all week. He comes out of the rehabs facility and comes out and dominates up there. I just said I think Queensland might get the jump on us game 1, but we'll win the next 2. What's the show if I don't have an honest opinion or that I can have critics come out here and throw egg at my face? It's a waste of time.
The thing that's so weird about you is that you have an honest opinion when you're in New South Wales, when you have all these other things that we can speak about, you can be honest about, and you don't dive into it. You sit on the fence. But then when it's talking about Origin, one part where you're going to get attacked, right? One part. You've done the blue jump. You've done the blue jump so many times,
New South Wales. A New South Wales fan hammering me is nothing.
But I asked you an honest question, and I thought, okay, well, this is one part where you might sort of sit on the fence and go, New South Wales are going to win this, and why. But you do the opposite. So you know what? You're going to cop the bachelors, and you're going to cop it from me. You're going to cop it from Gabe. You're going to cop it from all the footy nerds. You're going to cop it from all New South Wales players, all New South Wales fans, because you're a turncoat.
I'm going for New South Wales.
No, you're not.
I'm going for New South Wales, of course.
How can you?
Yeah, I am.
But on the back of your mind,
how's this show now turned in? You asked me a question. I said New South Wales through and through. We're winning the series, but I'm worried up there. Queensland may get a jump on us. Now all of a sudden it's made out I'm a turncoat. I don't go for New South Wales, and you're going to post. Gay's going to post some post that Mitchell Pearce turns on New South Wales. I'm sick of this podcast. If people want to come at us from every angle, but you know what, Todd? It's nothing new. It's nothing new. Poor us.
How do you see it going, Toddy?
New South Wales win. New South Wales win easy. No, New South Wales will win. They'll be in a tight game. I think they'll win by 4. I think the score will be 24-20. It'll be... Man, the match will be
Bro, man.
Who? Troll me. Nah,
Troll me,
the
that's-
man of the
Troll
match
me,
should be
that's
Mitchell
it.
Moses. Mitchell Moses, man of the match for me. He'll get a double.
Oh.
A double.
And, yeah.
How much you got on
24-20,
that?
Mitchell
Just your man
Moses
of the match is
double.
Ponga.
Nathan Cleary will get a 40-20. Zach Lomax will score a try. New South Wales.
Yeah, of course.
Who's your man in the match? Be honest, Mitch. We're
KP. He's already said it.
Your
KP.
opinion is
His
good.
boy
Yeah,
I'm not giving an
KP.
opinion. I'm not giving an opinion because you made me feel like you made me feel like a turncoat when it wasn't my intention. I just said we're going to win the series. If I go out and I'll tell you why I've said this. I had to say what I feel might happen, which is what we're here to do. But at the moment, if I tip with my heart week to week, it's not working. It's not working. So I have to put my balls on the line with a bit of courage and come up with something that I feel might be a little bit left field, might be a bit critical, but I'm worried. I think Queensland may win this
Here he
one,
goes.
but we will win
Pinhead's
the
at it
series.
again.
Kalen Ponga, if they win, Kalen Ponga gets man of the match.
All right, if New South Wales win, who's man in the match?
Cleary, Nathan.
That's another wrap for our Footy Nerds Round 12 review done and dusted. Hope we filled all the topics you want to talk. Obviously, the big one today was Lachie Galvin. To all the Footy Nerds out there, if you're a New South Wales fan, don't jump ship like Mitch. We'll get the win on Wednesday night. Footy fans, go there, enjoy Origin, have fun, and we'll see you all on Thursday with our fan questions, and we'll be dissecting all things Origin on Thursday. Love yous.